Hello everyone, welcome to the dynamic and vibration course. Wherein the first lecture will talk about the basic things like force, moment of inertia, and then we'll talk about the simple pendulum and compound pendulum. So let's start. So first of all, we'll define the force. So as we know that in the physics, a force is any interaction which tends to change the motion of the object. That particular cause is known as force. And the force can cause an object with mass to change its velocity, which includes to begin moving from the state of rest, or you can say if it's already moving, then it will get accelerated. And the force can also be described by a intuitive concept of push and pull, and it's a vector quantity which has both magnitude as well as the direction and measured in the newtons in the SI unit, and in general it is represented by F. And as we can see, the original form of Newton's second law states that the net force acting upon an object is equal to the rate at which its momentum changes with time, or we can say F equals to dp over dt, rate of change of momentum. Here p equals to momentum m into v. So if the mass is constant, then we can say this is d mv over dt, and if the mass is constant, then this becomes dv over dt. Here dv over dt is rate of change of velocity, which is nothing but it's a acceleration, m into a. So we got F is equal to ma. So as we know that if the mass of object is constant, then this law implies that the acceleration of object is directly proportional to the net force acting on the object and in the direction of net force. So F is equal to ma, and we can say the inversely proportional to the mass of the object. And related concept of the force includes thrust, which increase the velocity of the object, and drag, which decreases the velocity of an object, and the torque, which produces the changes in the rotational speed. And in the extended bodies, each part usually applies the force on the adjacent part of that object, and the distribution of such forces through the body is called mechanical stresses. So as we know that the pressure is a simply type of the stress, and the stress usually causes the deformation of the solid material and flow in the fluids. And now the type of forces, here we can say that on the structures different type of forces are acting, and first can be the static force. So here in this example we can see one person is standing still and it's carrying some books. So this type of load is known as static load, and here in this person is carrying the book and it's moving, it's not standing still. So here we can say the load is changing with time. So, or we can say it's changing its location at the time. So this type of load is known as dynamic force. So as we can say, this person is moving in this direction, then at the place at t is equal to 0 time, suppose if we are talking about the place where t is equal to 0 time, there was no load, but suddenly when this person will time at that place, after some time there will be a load. So the load is changing with the time. So this type of load is known as dynamic load, and according to its nature we can categorize. The first can be tension. So here in this example, two persons are pulling apart this rope. So this type of load is known as tension. So it will try to create the elongation in this load. So you can take another example of this type of load. Suppose you are applying the force on this object and it will try to increase its length, or you can say it will try to elongate this object. So this type of load is known as tension load, and it will create the tensile stresses. Similarly, we can take an example for compression. So if this weightlifter is lifting some load, so its whole body will experience the compression because of this load. So another example we can take, if we apply such forces which will try to shorten its length here, so this type of load is known as compressive load. Here for the shear force we can take an example of this scissor. So on both of the handles the force is applied, both of the handles are applying the force on this pin in the opposite direction, and they will shear out about a plane. They will try to shear out this pin about a plane. So this type of force is known as shear force. Or another example you can take, there are two objects A and B. B is on the A object and you are trying to push it out, then within the contact surface of these objects there will be tangential force and there will be shear stresses, or you can say this type of force is known as shear force. And next can be example of torsion. So if this plastic ruler is twisted between both of the hands, this ruler is said to be in state of torsion. So there can be tension, compression, shear force and torsion. And next, laws of motion. So Newton's laws of motion, there are three laws. So first laws, when a object viewed in the inertial reference frame, an object either remains at rest or continues to move at constant velocity unless acted upon by an external force. And second laws, as we discussed, the vector sum of the force F on an object is equal to the mass of that object multiplied by the acceleration vector A of the object, which is F is equal to ma. And the third law is, when one object exerts a force on the second object simultaneously exerts a force equal in magnitude and opposite in the direction on the first body. So here there will be a pair of action and reaction, and both action and reaction, this couple will comes in the picture at the same time. And here one more thing, both of the action and reaction will be equal in magnitude, opposite in the direction and same in the nature. Means if we are talking about the tension, then the action reaction pair will be the tension only. If you are talking about the reaction of the compressive force, then the component of this action reaction pair will be the compression, or they always acts on the different objects. They are not acting on the same object. So if suppose there is a one cord and this is some mass, so if we trying to pull this into this direction, then if we cut here, then we can make the free body diagram of this, and this will be the tension over this cord. Then the action reaction pair of this tension will be the tension only, and that will be in this part. So we can say equal in magnitude, opposite in direction and same in the nature and acting on the different objects. So next we'll talk about the moment of inertia. As we know that the moment of inertia is the mass property of the rigid body that determines the torque needed for the desired angular acceleration. So we can say the moment of inertia is the measure of resistance against its rotation. Here we know that the moment of inertia depends on the shape of the body and may be different around different axes. Means moment of inertia depends on the distribution of the mass about its axis of rotation, how the mass is distributed about the rotation axis. A larger moment of inertia around the given axis requires the more torque to increase the rotation or to stop the rotation of the body about that particular axis. And we can say the moment of inertia depends on the distribution of its mass and can be found through the sum of the moments of inertia of the masses making up that particular object under the same condition. Here example, if the MC is the sum of MA and MB mass, then mass moment of inertia of C object can be given as the sum of the mass moment of inertia A plus mass moment of inertia of B. And here the unit of this mass moment of inertia is kg into meter square. This is the SI unit of mass moment of inertia. And now here if we take an example, if this is the spherical cell and this is the solid sphere, this is a ring and this is a solid cylinder, and if we release them all from the same position, this inclined plane at the same time, who will reach first at this place? This will depend on the mass moment of inertia of these objects. So these are the formulas of these particular objects. For solid cylinder, you can give the mass moment of inertia about its axis by 1 by 2 mr square. For the ring, this is mr square. For solid sphere, this is 2 by 5 mr square. And for this rod about this axis, the mass moment of inertia would be 1 by 12 ml square. And now we'll talk about the parallel axis theorem and perpendicular axis theorem. So suppose a object of mass m is made to rotate about an axis z, which is passing through its center of mass. So the body has the mass moment of inertia about its center of mass, which is designated by ICM with respect to this particular axis z. The parallel axis theorem states that if the body is made to rotate about the new axis z prime, if now we'll rotate this object about this new axis z prime, which is parallel to the first axis and displaced from it by a distance d. So this perpendicular distance between both of the axes is d. Then the mass moment of inertia about this new axis will be given by ICM. This is the mass moment of inertia about the center of mass about this z axis, plus md square. M is the mass of this object and d is the perpendicular distance between both of the axes. And now we'll talk about the area moment of inertia. Area moment of inertia. The second moment of area, also known as moment of inertia of plane area, area moment of inertia, or second area of moment, is a geometrical property of an area which reflects how its points are distributed with regard to an arbitrary axis. So in the mass moment of inertia, we discussed that the mass moment of inertia depends on how the mass is distributed about the axis of rotation. Here area moment of inertia depends on how the area or points of that particular object is distributed about the axis. The second moment of area is typically denoted with an axis that lies on that plane or an axis perpendicular to the plane. Its unit of the dimension is length to fourth power. So L for length, if we measure this length in mm, then unit would be mm raised to power 4. The next lecture will talk about the simple pendulum and compound pendulum. So thank you.